Hi everyone, welcome to Little Wicket Railway. I'm Rob and in this video we're going to try buying models at auction. I've never been to an auction before, but I've always wanted to go to one. And it just so happens that my local auction house had a toy and train special on, so I went down to check it out. The day before the auction, there was an opportunity to view what's on offer. Everything's out on display and you can get an auction catalogue and have a wander around and look at all the lots. Each lot has an estimated value put on it, and that's generally the amount the auctioneer will start at. And at this auction, all the toy stuff was over on one side of the sales room, and then all the railway stuff was in another massive showroom, and they really did have a lot of it. Pretty much every gauge and scale was there from N all the way up to G. Most manufacturers and periods of production were also represented, from the older tin plate stuff all the way up to DCC models that only came out in the last couple of years. Viewing in advance is really important because it lets you spot things that might not be obvious in the photos. I wasn't sure if I was allowed to touch anything, but I checked with the sales room team and they were happy for me to carefully handle the models, and they were always around if I needed any help. Some of the models, like the Hornby Ruston 48DS and the Hornby Hush Hush, were still in the original manufacturer's cardboard outer boxes, so you needed to remove the packaging to see what was inside. And it's important to remember that these items are sold as seen. There's no guarantee that they will work, and you can't take them back if you subsequently find out that they don't run well or have some damage. So there is some risk to buying like this compared to buying from a retailer, but that's why the prices are often a lot lower. So having been round the showroom, I had a list of things that I was interested in bidding on, either stuff that I wanted to keep for myself or bits that I thought I might be able to sell on and make a bit of a profit. The Hornby Rustons and the Hush Hush as newer models had made it onto that shortlist. There were a few boxes of wagons that I liked the look of. 3 Helgen 1300 locos were also on my shortlist, but I needed to do a bit of homework on them because I had a feeling that they didn't have a great reputation. And the GWR one with the packaging missing looked pretty rough, with broken parts and gunk all over it. This is why viewing in person is much better, because I don't think you could tell that from the photos. They had a lot of the Digitrax DS64 accessory decoders, and I'm not a Digitrax user, so again, I needed to go out and do some research on what they might be worth. There was a Lima Class 37 in the police livery, and I was pretty keen to add that to the collection, although apparently the locos in that lot didn't have any motors in them. I took a bit of a fancy to a Bachmann set called the Highlander with a sound-fitted 37, bit bashed in one corner but otherwise great condition. And next to that were 4 Bachmann Class 47s that were essentially brand new, still with the tissue paper on. The one in two-tone BR green livery is the one that I really wanted. A couple that were in the sector liveries and the BR blue I wasn't that bothered about. There are a couple of G-gauge bits that I was interested in, a box of wagons and a really beaten up loco that I might want the motor from. There was a huge collection of Faller Funfair kits that looked really cool. Not something that I was going to bid on because it's the wrong scale and I don't have the space for it, but I was really interested to know how much these big kits would go for. That evening I did loads of research on each item. The 2 key pieces of information that I wanted to know were what could I buy it for now and what had it sold for recently, and thanks to eBay's sales history, that's pretty easy to do. Then for each item I noted down the maximum amount I would be prepared to go to. I was really worried that I'd get carried away bidding just to win, so setting a limit was essential for me. And you need to factor in the buyer's premium and VAT. The buyer's premium is a percentage that you pay to the sales room. In this case it was 15%, and the VAT is charged on that premium. So in this case that worked out to be 18% on top of the bid value. So if you bid £100, you'll end up paying £118, including that premium and tax. Obviously, you need to factor these extra costs into your bidding limits. So the day of the auction arrived and I got there nice and early to take one last look around and see how it all worked because, I'll be honest, I was pretty nervous. Registering to bid was free and I was issued with my number that I need to show the auctioneer if I won anything. Before we started, auctioneer Chris explained how the buying process worked, making it all really clear, and then we were off. And he wasn't just talking to the 30 to 40 of us in the room, but this auction was also online at easyliveauctions.com, so I was bidding against the whole of the internet. He did highlight that if you win something, then it's your responsibility to be able to get it home, either by picking it up or arranging shipping, which is particularly important if you're bidding online and live some distance away because they can't hold on to things for very long. And he also set out the payment methods, which were either cash or debit cards. They wouldn't take credit card or checks, so make sure you're able to pay before you start bidding. It's fairly fast paced, but not so fast that I couldn't keep up. They usually get through around 120 lots an hour. To ease myself in, I picked an earlier lot to have a go at bidding on before the main items I was interested in came up. There were some LMS branded items that I wouldn't mind adding to my collection. And it wasn't the smoothest of starts because I raised my card at exactly the same time as someone else, immediately creating work for the auctioneer as he had to decide who got their bid in first. And that was my first lesson learned. There's no need to rush, you can afford to wait a bit before putting your bid in, and if the bidding is getting close to your limit, then it might be better to hold off until your bid will be the one that takes it to your limit. These LMS bits sold for £20 and that was my limit, and if I'd have held off and let the internet bid come in at £15 first, then I might have won the lot for 20, so timing does play a part. But with that first bidding experience out the way, I felt a lot more confident and ready to go for some models. The first lot that I went for was a tray of wagons, some of which were described as having local interest. I only wanted to keep a few and I'd sell the rest, and it was quite hard to value because it contained a few limited editions such as the Bewdley wagons, which had previously sold on eBay for good money. I decided to play it safe and set my limit at £70, and they eventually went for 80.
At 80, you're done selling at £80.
Next up were the three Helgen 1300 060 locos, two in photographic grey, and they looked mint in box, and the scruffy GWR one that was partially boxed. And after viewing them, I had done my research and apparently they're pretty terrible models. However, supposedly the photographic grey ones are limited editions with only 250 being made. If they were limited editions, then they can't have been that desirable as there are currently 5 available on eBay and 2 were at the auction. I didn't particularly want them for myself, I'd only be buying them to sell on if I could get a bargain, so I set my limit at £90. They ended up going for 130, which with costs added on is 153. And I'm guessing that means at least one more 1361 will be up on eBay soon, as I can't imagine why you'd want 2 of the exact same model in a pretty unique livery. The next lot I quite like the look of, had 4 United Dairies 6-wheelers in it, a pack of 4 Helgen dogfish wagons, and a load of random other wagons. Again, the benefits of viewing in person, I'd spotted that the centre wheels on all the dairy wagons had been removed. But that's not a massive deal, but it did mean that they might need some work. Also, I'd heard that the dogfish wagons might not run particularly well, but they seem to be quite desirable online, so I set my limit at £100, and I just missed out as they went for 110.
James's head there, £80 it is. 85 for a bidder. 90 at 90 bids, 95, 100, 110. James's head at 110 the bid's here. At 110 and 7, at 10, by 14.
As I say, I didn't want any of the Fallow Funfair stuff, but I was really interested to see what it went for, and I think someone picked up a massive bargain here. The rides are worth a few €100 each, and someone got them all for £130. Lot 363 contained the Digitrax DS64s, and although I don't use the Digitrax system, I did consider bidding, but after viewing them in person, they were very much second-hand, some of them with chunks of baseboard still glued to the back of them. And I suppose if you wanted to use them yourself and didn't care what they looked like, then great, but I had no use for them and it would take a lot of work to test them and make them presentable for resale. So it was a pass from me on the DS64s and they went for £80 in the end.
So, Rubik making a mistake, £80.
Lot 375 was the one with the police class 37 body shell. I would have loved to have this in my collection, but at £70 it was too much for me, especially seeing as they weren't even motorised, and I wonder if the internet buyer had actually spotted that in the description. Lot 377 took me by surprise. It was for an old Wren Loco, a Royal Scot. Not my thing at all, had an estimate of 40 to 80, but ended up going for double that at 160. And these are listed for silly money online, so if you know what's so special about this Loco, then please let me know in the comments. Having missed out on quite a few lots so far, I was beginning to think I might be going home with nothing. Lots were going to the same few people in the room or to the internet, but then along came lot 392. Not the most glamorous lot, just a tray of 16 boxed wagons, some of them pretty old, some of them a bit worn. The estimate was 40 to 60 and I'd put my limit at 50, bang in the middle. And for the first time, I won something at an auction. Taking into account buyer's premium and VAT, that worked out at about $3.69 per wagon, which isn't too bad. There are a few in there that I'll keep and I think the rest will be sold on. I'd taken an interest in that Hornby Hush Hush. It looked new to me, but it was LNER green, so not really my thing. However, I do like the look of the Hush Hush, so I stuck in a bid. My limit was 130 and poor timing from me meant that someone got there before me. I spoke to them afterwards though, and they were pretty happy to have won it. It's going to be part of their collection. They're not going to sell it on, so I'm happy that it's gone to a good home. Next up was the Bachmann Highlander set with the sound fitted 37. Again, not really a livery I'm interested in, so I was prepared to go up to 140 and it went for 180. Up next were the 4 basically brand new Bachmann Class 47s, each in a different livery. I was interested in the two-tone green one and set my limit at £100, but they all went for between 130 to 150, which after taking into account fees isn't that much lower than you can buy them for online at the moment. I couldn't resist a little bid on the G-scale Loco, the really beaten up one. The body would need a huge amount of work. In fact, I'd probably bin it, 3D print a new one, but it seemed like someone wanted it more than me and I was happy to let them have it. The main G-gauge lot I was interested in was the collection of wagons. These definitely had some resale value, plus I could make use of the metal wheel sets, which retail new at around £20 a set, and there were 3 of those in there. I'd set my limit at £90, someone got there before me and definitely wanted them more than I did, so I wasn't going to put up a fight. So there we go, that was my experience of buying models at auction. Not overly successful, maybe I should have been a bit more bullish, but on the bright side, I learned a lot, I didn't spend that much money, and I've got a tray of wagons at a bargain price. So if you're going to buy models at an auction, here are the key things to remember. Try to view in person if you can, and don't be afraid to ask the sales team for a closer look at any items that you're interested in. Do your homework and research the items to assess their true value. Set your limits and stick to them, and don't forget to factor in the buyer's premium and any taxes. Make sure they accept your payment methods and that you've got to wait to get your purchases home. And finally, enjoy the experience. It's quite exciting bidding against other people, and if you don't win, don't stress about it. Massive thanks to the team at the John Goodwin sales room for making me feel really welcome and letting me film, particularly to Rupert, who is a fellow railway enthusiast and took the time to explain everything to me. If you've bagged any bargains at auction or you've got any tips on how to succeed when bidding, then drop them in the comments section below. If you've enjoyed this video, then please give it a like and subscribe to the channel. Special thanks to all the YouTube members and patrons for your support. It's very much appreciated, and I'll stick your names up on the screen now. That's about it for this video. Thanks for watching, and I will hopefully see you again soon.